Mm-hmm. Welcome to a quick bit of PCC podcast content. Well, content is where to be broadcast. On the podcast today, I stumbled across this informational of a park that's going to be opened up in the Alabama area, commemorating the enduring that the enslaved humans had gone through, and I call it dredging up the attempted effort to erase um, our chaotic, traumatic experience to arrive where we are now in the Americas. So, without further ado,
March, a first-of-its-kind park opened up in Montgomery, Alabama. It's dedicated to those who were enslaved. The idea behind Freedom Monument Sculpture Park is not only to enlighten visitors about the past, the goal is to let them experience what it may have been like for those enslaved men and women who were brought through that area hundreds of years ago.
So, I've been in Richmond, Virginia, Petersburg, Virginia since 2001. I've gone to Sarah Lee, who is General Lee's auntie. I've gone to the plantation. I've gone to Stonewall Jackson's plantation, and I've recently gone to a plantation east of here. I've yet to experience or to see what they would consider a slave hut. And shout out and salute to those participants in the Black Lives Matter movement. Not that I consider myself black, nor do I believe that movement done anything for formerly enslaved descendants here in the Americas. As a matter of fact, and this is my perspective, but it is a perspective that's based off of research. So black is a class or a caste here in the Americas, and black are those individuals that receive liberties under something known as civil rights, because actual humans or so-called sovereigns or so-called white people don't need civil rights to have their rights respected and not alienated from them. So under the caste or the class of black would be black people, LGBTA, and others. So that movement done a lot for other groups of people immediately than it has done for formerly enslaved people over the past 500 years that we've been trying to obtain. But needless to say, I've yet to see slave quarters, slave huts, and a lot of evidence that the atrocities did occur, or that this whole era did exist.
Lester Holt takes us there for this week's Sunday Spotlight.
The peaceful beauty of the Alabama River in Montgomery is undeniable, but so is its place in a brutal history.
So the narrative will begin on this boat.
Absolutely. Being sold down the river, being trafficked by boat or by rail was an absolutely terrifying experience.
Please place some hearts or likes in the video if you've been to Alabama, if you've traveled throughout the South, and give me an answer, if you will, show your insight as to why our grandparents and elders migrated or fled from the South, and why they won't come back here.
Experience for enslaved people.
Brian Stevenson is the founder and CEO of the Equal Justice Initiative, which created the Freedom Monument Sculpture Park on these shores where the slave trade once flourished.
These monuments right here remind me of the statues that they have in the bottom of a body of water commemorating the 100 Igbo enslaved or captives that drowned themselves rather than be enslaved. So not that I agree with what is known as suicide, but Kanye said that slavery was a choice, and I guess it actually is a choice if you look at it thoroughly, because you got the choice to live on your knees as an enslaved person or die standing on your feet like Nat Turner, Gabriel Prosser, Hugh P. Newton, George Jackson, Chairman Fred Hampton, Afeni Shakur, Asada Shakur. You can stand and die. It's a choice.
There's not much in the visual record of that era that helps you get a sense of the humanity of these people.
That's what I was saying. There's not much evidence. They don't want to teach it in our school, critical race theory. They don't want to talk about it. Who was they? The colonials and their children. To ignore something and act like it didn't exist is a way not to address it, a way not to remedy, a way not to compensate, basically.
And so sculptures and replicas help weave the story from the places they were held.
They would put them in holding pens where they would wait until the auction.
To the places they were whipped.
So they would be shackled.
Yes, you can see the metal points here.
Yeah.
Along the trail, visitors are reminded this human trafficking was not just a stain on the South.
Yeah.
North Carolina, Maryland, New Jersey, its tentacles reach north.
No, it begins in the north. It begins in New England.
Also posted here, laws that codified brutality against slaves.
Homicide shall be deemed excusable, committed by accident or misfortune in lawfully correcting a slave.
Yes.
A license to kill.
The Monument Park joins the recently opened Legacy Museum, which documents.
Salute to all of the visionaries that see, enter, and understand that we have to write our own history. If you're leaving it up to the descendants of the slave masters, to the successors of the slave masters to write our history, you are sadly mistaken. While our youth are so busy with rap and hip hop and every other thing that have nothing to do with societal progression, we are being, not only are we being forgotten, we're being overlooked. We are not industrializing. We've gone backwards in ownership of land, of the creation of brick and mortar businesses. And, it's time to wake up and remember and push forward.
It's the history and impact of the Atlantic slave trade. A third site, the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, lays bare the raw history of lynching in America.
It seems like a direct repudiation of some of the things, the movements we've heard over the last couple of years to not teach some of this history, critical race theory.
Why? Please reply in the comments. Why should we not teach critical race theory? Why should we not teach the actual history of the world? Because whoever we are, it didn't start here in the Americas. We got to visit what I call pre-Columbian history, which is pre-1492. We got to know about what was going on around the world in the Americas and in Europe at that time. Okay?
For me, it's been a lifelong ambition to just kind of get people to reckon with the truth. We can't get there if we don't talk honestly about this history.
The centerpiece of the sculpture park, this wall embossed with 122,000 surnames that were adopted by newly emancipated slaves during the 1870 census.
Correction. Newly emancipated enslaved. We have to do them justice by acknowledging that they were born endowed with freedoms, but they were enslaved. They weren't born slaves.
And these are the names that represent the 4 million people who were emancipated and recorded in 1870.
I wonder if my family's sure name is there. Dues. But in our situation, we received the name of the former slave masters. So respond what your perspective is, how people receive their sewer names or chose their sewer names.
And, we wanted to see them in a place of honor, see them on a wall of.
The urge is to grieve for them. Brian Stevenson wants us to honor them. He quotes from the inscription at the base of the wall.
We honor your perseverance in the midst of sorrow. We honor your struggle for freedom. Your children love you.
And the line that jumps out at me, the country you built must honor you.
Yeah.
The country that our ancestors built. We'll give them a moment of silence on that one right there.
Yeah.
And that's what this monument hopes to do.
Absolutely.
For Sunday Today, Lester Holt, Montgomery, Alabama.
Salute to Sunday Today. Salute to Lester Holt. Salute to Montgomery, Alabama. Salute to all the trendsetters, the pioneers, the trailblazers, those that continue to remember, commemorate, and set the precedence for heights and feats that can be accomplished by those that persevere, that are diligent. So, I love you one. I love you all. This is hashtag PCC with another quick bit of podcast content. Content is worthy to be broadcast on the podcast. Like, share, and subscribe. PCC ya.